Hello folks, and welcome to the SO Hacker Log. I am your script kiddie in Security Land, and this is my network that is being monitored by Security Onion. If you want to learn how to monitor a small network at home using Security Onion, then see the link down in the description. In this episode, I am going to install Kali Linux compiled for Apple Silicon into a virtual machine running on macOS. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, here we are looking at a couple of hosts that are logged into the network. Over in the lower right-hand corner here, we have a macOS host. And in the background here, we have a Windows 11 host that is logged into the Security Onion console. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is up here in the Security Onion console, I am going to go to Options here, and I am going to set the update frequency to 1 minute, just so that we can see any alerts as they are generated here. Now I am going to go to the macOS host, and I am going to open up a web browser here. In the search field, I am going to type in Kali and go to kali.org. And from there, I am going to select Downloads. From there, I am going to go to Installer Images. And then I am going to select Apple Silicon here. After that, I am going to download the recommended installer image here. That download is going to take a few minutes here, so we can go and start setting up the virtual machine that we are going to install that image into. I am going to go down to the bottom of the screen here, and I am going to open up VirtualBox. Now, when I was recording this video, I set up a virtual machine and then decided that I wanted to do things differently. So I started over and did a second virtual machine. So I am just going to go ahead and skip to when I was setting up that second machine. So now I am just going to select New here in the VirtualBox Manager. I am going to name the new machine Kali. I am going to change the Linux subtype to Debian because that is what Kali is based on. Then down in the hardware pull-down menu here, I am going to give it 2 cores, and I'm going to leave the RAM at 2 gigabytes here because that should be fine for anything that I'm going to be doing with this machine. And I am going to turn the EFI off here because we don't need that. Now in the hard drive pull down menu, I am going to set the hard drive size to 40 gigabytes instead of 20 because 20 is really small. After that, I am going to go ahead and hit finish down here, and that will create our virtual machine. As you can see, the settings for that virtual machine are listed here now in the VirtualBox Manager, and I am going to make a couple of changes. The first change that I'm going to make is that I am going to change this network adapter from NAT to bridged, and that is because I am actually pen testing through this network so that Security Onion can record the pen testing traffic, and I want this Kali Linux virtual machine to have a unique IP address on this network. The next thing that I'm going to do is select the optical drive right here, and I'm going to select the Kali Linux ISO file that we just downloaded. Now, as you can see, you can just select it right here from the menu, but I went ahead and selected it through the directory structure here. And as you can see, I'm in the downloads folder right here, and here is Kali Linux. So I am just going to select that one and then click on open. Okay, so now we are ready to actually start up this virtual machine and install Kali Linux onto it. I am going to click on this big green arrow that says start, and that will fire up this virtual machine. Once we are in the Grub bootloader here, I am going to push the down arrow on my keyboard to select graphical install, and then I'm going to press enter. For me, I am pretty much accepting all of the defaults, so this will be a pretty straightforward install. I'm just going to select my language, and my location, and my keyboard layout. The installer will then spend some time detecting the hardware and the network. I'll stick with the default host name of Kali. I'll go ahead and just leave the domain name blank. Then I am going to enter a username. I am just going to use Kali. You can use whatever you want, of course. I am going to enter a password here. It will then ask you for your time zone. And after that, it will detect the disks and start up the partitioner. I am just going to tell it to use the entire disk, and there is only one virtual disk in this virtual machine, so that's the one I'm going to use. And then I'm just going to put all the files into one partition. Finally, it will ask me if I want to finish this partitioning and write these changes to the disk, which I definitely do. And after I select yes here and hit continue, it will then start installing Kali Linux. After it installs the base system, it asks me if I want to install some additional components, and I am going to just stick with the defaults here. Now the installer will spend some time finishing the installation. And once that process is finally done, it will ask you to reboot the system, so I am just going to do that. The virtual machine will then boot into Kali Linux, and there you have it. Enter the username and the password, and here we are. Kali Linux compiled for Apple Silicon is now installed as a virtual machine on this Mac. Now, going back to the Security Onion console here, you can see that Security Onion has given us a couple of alerts here, and it has notified us that Kali Linux has appeared on this network, so that's good.